ready?
Right. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, all right. It's been a very long time since I've said this, but welcome to If Podcast Could Kill. I'm Roach. That's Movie Massacre.
Hello.
We've got a bit of a bone to pick with the horror genre and the consistent decline of the horror film industry, and we're going to talk about that because we want to. And but I only have one question, and that is, my friend, where would you like to start?
I know exactly where I'd like to start, and it's a little
Where do you want
story
to
that goes
start?
back
Go on.
about 4 or 5 years ago at Movie Massacre Show channel.
Oh,
I
we're
got a
going down
little
memory
box.
lane now. Go on.
I got a little box of free movies from a distribution company called Wild Eye Releasing.
Wild
And,
Eye Releasing, you say?
Oh yeah, some friends got the boxes too. We got them at the same time, and for some reason, because they got those movies, they were felt like they had to give every film that they watched from them a good old positive review. But there's a catch: they were garbage. This is why you got them free. And in all of my reviews, said that they were garbage, and people fell out with me because of it, because I told the truth. So everybody, don't believe what people say online about certain movies. These movies are bottom of the barrel, trash. Some people say they're cheap. Our generation, I remember in early 90s, would you say, when things started getting DVD releases, where you go to Blockbuster, you see the front covers of these films, and you think, well, that looks intriguing. There's a difference between those low budget films and the low budget movies of today. A huge difference.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we've got there's access to too much in there with it, where like the Wild Eye films are concerned. Films like Wild Eye have always existed, but the beauty of it back then was that they wouldn't necessarily have been seen until like a really unique movie kind of pushed through the cracks and like became like either B movie or in some cases like a mainstream status, like finding a diamond in the rough kind of thing. And you don't really get that with MD because there's so many of them and they're so terrible. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's not just them either. Is it Asylum? I don't like that they did.
There's a
They
few,
made
actually.
it okay to make garbage for fans. And I think why this is, I know this is why a lot of these movies keep getting churned out. And it's because I know what you did last summer. There's a new one coming out in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I don't know the name, but I'm just going to say it's called I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Asylum will make a film and they'll call I Know What You Did Last Summer because you went to the shop and bought a box of eggs. And they'd put a poster on that replicates the poster of I Know What You Did Last Summer. So
I Know What You Did Last August.
Yeah. So a casual film fan will walk into a store, see that on a shelf and think, oh, that's that film that's coming out. I'm going to buy it. So they'll buy it and then they'll put it in the DVD player and realize they've just been scammed. And that's what a lot of these films do. Like Wild Eye movies, for instance, one of my main issues with them is this, and I've told Roach plenty of times. There's a film called Shark Exorcist 2, and I'm going to use this as an example. They get a front cover, and it looks incredible. They make the shark look great. It's fire. The shark's coming out of the fire, and there's the priest stood with his cross in the air. It looks so epic. It's amazing. It is called Shark Exorcist 2. I'm like, there's been one before this, and I never knew this. So, you think, oh, there's more content I can sink my teeth into. Right, and that picture image on that DVD cover, right, is not in the film. The shark does not look like that. It's not even the same priest on the front cover. It looks worse than the PlayStation 1 game, and you've been scammed when you buy it. And they can sell these for, I think, highest price I've seen is, I think, between $12 to $15, and they're not even films. They're not filmmakers.
It's weird, isn't it? There's like a massive oversaturation of them at the minute, like of these production distribution companies. And they quite literally pride themselves and base their entire enterprise on how bad a film can actually be. And it's like, I feel like we're getting, before we were getting desensitized to gore and to like shock factor, but now we're just getting desensitized to bull crap because it was fun and entertaining for like a hot minute. There's a handful of really bad films that you can watch and laugh at, but it's like it's gone far beyond that now. Like it's gone far beyond any form of representation of the horror genre. That it's almost purposefully trying to cause irreversible damage. You know what I mean? Just to the horror genre, and it's one of the main reasons I think that these kinds of companies. It's one of the main reasons why horror as a genre is not taken seriously anymore. Not that it ever has been, but I feel like it had a lot more of a sort of a presence than it does now. Now it's more of a laughing stock than it.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It was more about the love back then. Now it's
Yeah,
about
without a doubt.
a
Yeah,
bunch of people sat around a table that have said, how can we get a genre and turn it into a conveyor belt of movies where we can just
yeah,
keep
absolutely.
churning nonsense out without putting minimal effort in as well, but making
Yeah,
maximum profit. And that's what these films are. The minimal effort. I've looked up some of these people's. They're not filmmakers. It's just me or you that's grabbed a camera and said we're going to make a film. You can tell some camera angles are terrible, and the angles themselves will put me off of watching the film because I know they're not doing it for the love of the movie, and also I know that I've obviously been scammed, which is an annoyance. And just to make things clearer to
yeah,
people that are listening, Jim, I'd like to help them understand what we're talking about by naming films from 90s that are classed as, trash and garbage, and then,
yeah,
today's as trash and garbage, so we can explain the difference. And I think
yeah,
one of those is Troll 2. It's
yeah.
trash, it's garbage, but you can tell they actually enjoyed making it. It just wasn't
Yeah,
very good, but you can see that there's love in that film. And The Room as
absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
for example.
Well, these types of films, they're constantly and consciously, I think, keeping the genre below the line of the horror genre, basically returning to anything remotely close to its former glory. Even the worst, like you're saying, even the worst B movies from the 80s and 90s, even up to the 2000s, for all the cheesy one-liners and schlocky stories, shaky VHS camera work and stuff like that, atrocious audio and cheap practical effects, they carry a lot more heart and charm, I think, don't they, than any horror film put out by these so-called production companies in recent times. Like you said, Wild Eye and Asylum are two of the main ones. If you look at like Full Moon and Trauma, like Trauma is a perfect example of how
Perfect example. Yeah.
of how to execute a really good bad movie. Of course, they miss the mark a lot, and they don't make or produce all of the films that they distribute. But the genuine Trauma outfits carry a certain charm that no other distribution company or cheap DIY horror movie company could ever achieve. And I feel like there's
Yeah.
a lot to be learned from that. Do you know what I mean? They've got a
Yeah.
certain look. You know what I mean?
The real filmmakers, they have real actors in the films. They have people that actually love the craft and want to do it. Not because they want to be some kind of stars, just to say, like, I think some people make Wild Eye films or really low budget films just to say, oh, look, I've made a film, I'm a star
Mm.
now. I do believe
Yeah.
that's what some people do. With Trauma, they just Trauma love. They really enjoy making trash. That's their
Yeah.
thing, and they do it right.
They
They
do. Yeah.
They don't apologize about how offensive they are because that's what Trauma is. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be that way, and it isn't for everybody. Even some things in them, they don't shock me, but I do acknowledge that. I'll look at it and ask, that's fucked up. That is
Yeah.
fucked up. Like the taint. There's certain scenes in that
Oh,
where
man.
someone's been whipped on the back while another person's doing something. That even for me, that nope,
Is that
no.
this one that we watched where the guys somebody gets like a cock through their head, right? And you can see straight through it. Is that right? If I'm
Yeah,
thinking
and
about
he's
that right?
covered in
Yeah.
semen and skateboarding while he's got the US flag wrapped around him.
Do you feel that companies like Wild Eye, there's a couple of others as well. There's Wild Eye, Terror Films, Scream Team,
Asylum.
whoever makes the Pooniverse, yeah, and Asylum, they can't care, can they? Or like they can't care about what they distribute. It feels like they don't even watch the films that they promote because you can't realize. How do you not realize they're that bad? Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I do think if you disagree, let us know. By the way,
Mm.
with the Pooniverse, I think the creator does have love for making film because you can tell he's an actual film. He's a filmmaker.
Mm.
With actors and
That's fair.
there's a lot more love in those films. If you watch one of those next to a
Yeah,
wildlife film, there's a massive difference. I just don't think he's got the money to do what he wants. So it's like, oh,
yeah, to
Winnie
like
the Pooh's
execute his
available,
idea
I'll
properly.
do it. Because the first one's terrible. It's a it's an awful movie. But this is it. Winnie the Pooh 2? That's not too bad, you know. It's like the Terrifier thing, for instance.
Mhm.
It just got a bunch of money together. I think, quote me if I'm wrong, from fans and GoFundMe's to make the first one. The
Yeah.
second one, because it's made money now, they can put a better
They've got a
product out.
bigger
The second
budget,
one
yeah.
really isn't that bad at all.
Mhm.
And it's a
I
lot
still
better
haven't
than
seen
the
the
first
third one
one.
yet, so, like,
No,
I've seen the
there,
first two, I still haven't seen the third one yet.
there isn't a third one. The Peter Pan one is what I want to
Oh,
watch.
sorry, my apologies. I thought you meant Terrifier for a second then, I'm ever
Oh
so
my bad.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about Terrifier 3 another time though. But
Yeah, absolutely.
some start off bad, but do have intentions of making the money back, so they can actually pump something out that they love, because they've
Mhm.
got the idea they've got needs more money. But I can tell with Wild Eye that they're just churning stuff out. An Asylum, just to scam their viewers. That's all. That's what I believe from
Yeah,
companies like
'cause
that. 'Cause I don't see them ever trying to change, and they've been going for a long time now. Those
yeah.
companies.
Well, if you look at, like, Shark Exorcist and then Shark Exorcist 2, what's the difference? They've not improved, they've not made it better, they've not invested in better equipment, there's no creativity behind it.
I'd
It's
say
it's
second one's
like
worse.
it's
It's
it's really it's
awful.
boring. Yeah, it's I think we were saying the other day, weren't we? Like it makes you angry. Not in like I want to go and like do something ridiculous, but it makes you, the frustration turns to anger because you just
It does
you
me. I
you get like
I
second-hand embarrassment from almost.
It does me. I made video. I wanted to make videos about how angry it made me, and I did just that. There's also a thing with these Wild Eye movies that annoy me, because I can, as a film fan, and I think anybody that's not, I don't know, some casual film fans will pick it up, but if you're an avid film lover, you can
Mhm.
tell that they've extended some scenes just to make it 60 minutes. Because I believe
Yeah,
to release something as a movie, it has to be 50 or 60 minutes long
right.
over that time. And there's a lot of scenes in these films that are clearly made just to get to that mark, where there's a scene in I believe Shark Exorcist, where there's this gentleman and he's just jogging and
Mhm.
he's jogging. 3 minutes later, I'm looking at my watch. He's still going. All right, what's happening here? Is this going to build to something? Well, is he going to get killed? Is he going to be stalked by a shark? Even though it's on land, which would happen in the Shark Exorcist films, because nothing makes sense in them.
Well,
Is
what
it telling me
purpose does it
something about?
serve to the
Yeah.
story,
Is it?
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it trying to tell me something about his character? It's telling me. It's giving the audience member nothing. It's just taking. It's taking your time. It's taking your money, and it will continue to do so because they falsely advertise. And as long as they falsely advertise, people will buy it. And because they buy it, it tells the movie industry that people are buying this crap. So they'll keep churning it out. And I strongly believe that it's also aided in dumbing down your movie audience too.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying earlier, like you mentioned it being like a conveyor belt, and I would agree. It's like a fast food chain of filmmaking, where like the currency is films, and or the products is the films, and it's like somebody comes in with a terrible script or a story or a completed movie, and Wild Eye, just using Wild Eye as an example because we're talking about them, but Wild Eye say, for X amount of money, we can give you a package deal. Would you like a cover design, a poster advertisement on our website, 1,000 copies pressed, and an AI generated synopsis? And would you like to add a fountain pop and a small fries to go with that? Do you know what I mean? Then like some of the this is a bone of contention with me because it's some of them, and I'm looking at Asylum for this. They have the audacity to complain and copyright strike anybody that talks negatively about their films or reviews them on streaming platforms and things like that. It's almost as if they think that these people that are reviewing these films and saying how bad they are, that they're giving away the trade secret and their business model away to everyone and anyone for free. And they're like, no, don't tell them how we make money. They're not someone like you were saying earlier. They're not the people that are making these films. They're not someone that are trying to hone their craft and become a powerhouse of crisp execution and delivery for the best version of a vision that they have. Like with the trying to make something good out of the limited materials and the limited resources that they have.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I've got to
Yeah.
say, I have heard that have a bad attitude to people that negatively review their films, and people can negatively review them. It's their right to review them however they wish because it's a personal opinion. I've got to take my hat off to Wild Eye though. As much as I don't like the films, they don't give a
They
damn
take it
how
on
you
chin,
review
don't
their
they?
movies.
Yeah.
They've got a very Wild Eye do have a good sense of humor. I remember the British film critic I Hate Everything. He
Yeah.
reviewed The Amazing Bulk, and it destroyed that film. It was like watching Mike Tyson beat a dog up. It was horrible. And do you know what they did to him? They sent him a package with a bust of the Amazing Bulk character, thanking him for even acknowledging their film on his channel.
Oh, that's
And I think
so
that's
cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Where was our bust for doing it? Damn it.
I know. We knocked a lot of their films.
Yeah, it's become a joke though, hasn't it? Like things like that are really cool, and it does show that they obviously there's somebody there that's got a sense of humor, but they still don't care about taking your money for something that's like there's nobody out there has bought a Wild Eye film, gone home and watched it, and gone, yeah, that were definitely worth $20 of my hard-earned money.
I can prove that there are people that do that.
Shut up, you.
I had a YouTube mob come after me for negatively reviewing Wild Eye movies, but I'm not going any further than that. We're abusing it. It's time. But what I also thought was cool, he didn't kiss ass when he had that bust sent to him. He said thank you. He thought it was amazing that they'd done that. I know it was really kind of him. Then he went in to review, I believe, Shark Exorcist or Shark Exorcist 2. Did the same thing. He didn't have that attitude where, well, I'll be kinder because they sent me something. He just reviewed it as how he saw it. And I got a lot of respect for him for that.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Nowadays, I think horror, it's not horror anymore, nor is it barely a genre anymore, is it? It just seems to be like a minefield of retcon, CGI, copy and paste, nothing burgers.
Do you feel the same way about, I've seen a lot of this now, especially, I'm a Halloween fan, I am a horror fan. But I won't blindly say, "Oh, this is great." I like some terrible Halloween movies. That I do. I love Halloween Ends, but I can also acknowledge it's a really bad Halloween film.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them retconning movies that came out in 80s and 90s? Like, there's a new I Know What You Did Last Summer film coming out, and I think in 3 or 4 weeks, and it's retconning part 3. I'm not sure if it's retconning part 2 though. And it's bringing 2 legacy characters back. I believe it's getting the Halloween 2018 treatment. And there's a lot of films that are doing that recently as well. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about classic films getting remakes?
I think
that's
that,
a cop-out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it is, re-releasing old properties, it carries like a higher than usual profit margin because they know that people are going to come and watch it. And it's safe for them, right? So a company know for a fact that if they re-release a Halloween film, that they're going to get an audience for it no matter what, and they're going to make money on it no matter how bad it is or how much they retcon it. So it's a really, really safe bet for them. It's risk-free, I guess you could say, right? For a studio, the risk for the studio is very low because they know people are going to flock to see it. The latest version of a franchise giant, it becomes quantity over quality, and they don't care. And I hate it. I know for a fact if there's a new Halloween film that comes out, I'm going to go see it. But I hate that they have you like that. Do you know what I mean? It drives me insane that they keep just chopping and changing all the time just because I need to squeeze the last drop out of it. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I'm going to use a franchise that you and I love to explain my version of it, and it's Ghostbusters. I think Ghostbusters 84 is one of the greatest films ever made. Not because it's got ghosts in it. I think it's one of the best comedies of all time. I think it's perfectly written. The cast is incredible. It's the Saturday Night Gang, and everything's funny. There's nothing wrong with that film, in my opinion. They made a sequel because the first one did well, and I prefer sequel because that's the one I saw.
My favorite's number 2 as well. So.
Yeah, but I can acknowledge first. I know the first one's a better film,
without a doubt.
Yeah, they made 3. I loved 3 because there was putting a bow on top of it. That was made for the fans. That film, and I appreciated that. I wanted that for a long time. It wraps the franchise up for me. We got to saw the 4 of them one last time, and it was a nice farewell. And then with Frozen Empire, I felt like that film itself it's like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 to me. I can see why people like it, and I can see why
Mhm.
people like Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. But that also, some people say it's the best, but it's also it's the start of a death in a franchise. 'Cause,
Mhm. Yeah.
last week I read they've now announced 4 more Ghostbuster sequels, and now they're turning that into a conveyor belt franchise because
Yeah.
of exactly what you said. And it's to
Yeah.
make it,
It's
yeah,
safe
it's safe. They know what
and
they're gonna
risk-free.
get,
Yeah.
and that worries me as a lifelong Ghostbusters fan. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
I see that happening a lot recently, more than ever. We've
Mhm.
grown up loving film, and I think our era is probably this era today is probably most likely the worst and the one with less imagination. And it's what people are getting used to. And I think because the public are getting used to it, it's incredibly worrying for cinema. And cinema's dying out too. A lot of the movies that make the most money are comic book movies. And I like
Yeah.
comic book movies, but there's way too many of them because they can't,
Yeah.
there's nothing, not that many original things out anymore. And if people say there are, you got to look for it. You do,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't have to search high and low just to find something that you enjoy and that is original. If things at
Yeah.
cinema, it's an event. You go out to enjoy yourself and watch something that you don't know much about.
Yeah.
You go in and even trailers. You know, you watch a trailer now. You've seen you've seen the whole
Yeah.
film.
You've seen all the best bits. And the thing that really gets me going about trailers, man, is, I like teaser trailers where they give you just a little bit. We'll use like Afterlife as an example of that. You saw just lightning striking or whatever. There's an old barn. All of a sudden the top blows up and you see the back of the Ecto One. That's a good trailer. Like that's a good eye because it's just like just enough to be like, oh, we're back, are we? But then you get them where you see a scene in the trailer, and that is the actual only bit that character or that thing happens. Like that is the big thing, or they'll show you a clip from the ending of the film in the trailer or something, or big spoilers or things like that, and it just
Well,
takes so much away from it. Like it's just silly.
in the latest Jurassic Park trailer, you actually see a character get killed in the trailer.
It's like, yeah, what's the point in going to see it, right?
Yeah.
Do you know one thing that really, really bugs me with how horror films in general are these days is that I think you can tell me if I'm wrong or if you agree with this, but does it not seem to you, right, that horror films now seem to pander to feelings rather than pushing boundaries, exploring his deepest fears and his darkest proclivities as humans? It's sort of
They
like
do.
how how one situation, right, we all one day have to find ourselves in, regardless of how it happens. We all have to face his death, right? When did death care about hot button issues, however death is being delivered, whether that's through Candyman or like Leatherface or Pinhead, whoever you want? When did death care about hot button issues and equality or how someone feels? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the genre's gotten really soft because it's becoming increasingly difficult, I think, to stay focused when you're watching a quote unquote new horror film.
Well, Halloween Kills did that, didn't they, with Evil Dies Tonight, which apparently were a
Mm,
political thing towards. I'm not going to say his name, but certain someone had bring politics into it because we don't care
yeah.
about it. Into it, but that's what they do with Halloween. They've done it with a number of films, and I can't think of them right now off the top of my head, but I know full well it's in horror a lot. And I
Yeah.
was going to say this is why Terrifier as a franchise is blooming because it
Mhm.
ignores all that. Does
Yeah.
not care about your feelings, and it's not from a huge Hollywood company, so he's got that creative freedom to do
Mhm.
what Damien Leone. He's got that freedom to do whatever he wants, even if the kills offend you. He does not care, and that's horror. There's no limits.
So taking Terrifier into consideration, if you line up any other modern day horror film to it, like whether that be like Smile or like Hereditary or anything like that, things like that, they're no longer intended to scare us, but they're designed not to offend us. Do you know what I mean? Instead of making a
Yeah,
horror film that's like on the cutting edge, we're standing 6 feet back behind a fence where it feels safe, and that's not how it should be. Whereas Terrifier is like off the edge, down in the bottom of the pit, and it's like, "Yo, come and look down here." It's
yeah.
ripping blindfold off.
You made a good example from Smile 2 just then about people. not being lazy, just being safe. I feel like the fans writ that film without even knowing
Mm.
that they'd writ the movie. Because the first one's not. It's a slow burn, but I enjoyed the first one because it actually was an original film, in my
Yeah,
opinion. The sequel, to me, all they thought was, how can we get a lot of people to watch this film? And then they said, we know people like TikTok. We're going to base it
yeah,
on a pop singer, and people are going to come to cinemas and check that out. And they did.
yeah,
And it's a terrible film as well. Not just because of that, it's a bad film.
yeah,
And that's them pandering to TikTok crowd instead of just knuckling down and trying to write a really good script for that character, especially for the killer, whatever it is, the Smile
yeah,
Demon in Smile 2, because they could have written a really good script for that, and they made it very basic as to where
yeah,
a lot of things in the plot didn't make sense, and it's because they conveyor belted that film, which essentially ruined it.
yeah. I've got a question for you, right? Going back to what you were saying about how I feel about how retconning and re-releasing and re-releasing and rebooting and whatever makes you feel. Call the old 80s and 90s like horror films. Do you think that as horror fans now, we're destined to be forced to watch the same 5 to 10 franchises for the rest of our lives? Because I feel like until our generation is no more, they're not going to stop forcibly milking like all of the franchises that we like,
I
you know,
think what's going
for the
to
sake of
happen.
a quick buck.
I think what's
Go
going
on.
to happen is something that happened to us, and we didn't even realize it when it was happening to us. So when we were
Mhm.
younger, watching all these films, we had no
Yeah,
idea that they were copied from things that our parents used
yeah,
to watch when they were younger. And
that's a good
it's
point.
just going to go in a circle like that. And what we realize it now. Now we're old enough to, but it's just
Mhm.
that's what's going to happen. We're not even going to realize it when this next generation, say 20-year-olds, as old as we are, they're
Yeah.
then
Well,
gonna
then you
realize it's just it's a pattern. I watched the film in black and white, and I think it was made in, I can't remember, but it was The Hills Have Eyes. It just been ripped off straight from it, and I forgot what it
yeah,
was called. And I'm sat there thinking, well, damn. Then I watched another film because it were like a Universal box set of like 50 films in it. I watched another one and I thought, I've seen that one before as well. And then another one, I was like, yep, and that one. So I think a lot of us have grown up with that anyway, without even realizing it.
yeah,
Film industry is regurgitating stuff, and it wasn't
absolutely.
that they were similar. I could actually tell personally that somebody had watched that film and took off from it.
Mhm.
It wasn't an accident. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, like with every evolution or reiteration, they're sort of destroying the legacy of something that was once fun, right? And has now become more exhausting. And sort of adding to what you were saying, as a franchise now, it sort of plays out as cookie cutter as well. You know, like how you were saying, each film is a copy of another film, kind of thing. The franchise style system is as well, because if you think about it, right, you get a film, then you get the remake. You get a remake of the original and it fails. Then you get a direct sequel that scratches that and is a direct sequel to the original film. That fails. Now it's time to reboot the franchise. So now we get a reboot, and then it's time to reboot and appeal to whatever it is that is the least offensive, most inclusive version of that horror film.
Mhm.
And when all else fails, they'll make it either into one of two things. They'll make it into a multiverse, or they'll make it to a direct streaming TV series like soap opera version to try and link together 30, 40 years of mismatched nonsense. Does that not feel like that is
I've got a
like
big shit-eating grin on my face because I can prove what you've just said right. I can
yeah,
prove you right what you've just said.
go
Listen,
for
it
it. Go.
TV series coming out set before the
No.
films, and Skarsgård is coming back to play Pennywise. Season 1's going to be
Oh, is
set
this
before the first
the one
film.
that's called
Season
Derry? Is that the one?
Yeah, they're already doing it. And Megan, for example, is what you were saying as well. Megan came
Mm,
out. People loved that. It was a horror film. They tried to be a little smarter with this one because it made a lot of money. So they said, let's turn the second one. I don't know why they did this. Let's turn the
yeah.
second one into an action film. So they turned it into an action film
Seems
instead.
logical.
It was Terminator. They got Megan to fight another doll that was going to cause havoc.
So
And
just to
the
be
film
clear then,
flopped. It didn't make any money. And now that franchise is in the gutter.
see, when I watched Megan, and some people call it M3gan, don't they? And then Mafregan, I
Yeah.
think Chucky said it was. But for me, when I watched it, I thought that it was basically Child's Play, but for kids. It was a more sort of friendly version of it. So now we've gone from that, and to try and get away from the Child's Play bubble, we're moving into Terminator territory for kids. I
And how
love
the
it.
hell are
It's
people
brilliant.
not going to not notice that? Terminator.
Dude,
Come
like
on now.
all the TV series as well so far that have been made off of horror films have been complete toss. Like with the
Mhm.
exception of a few but the thing is, as I think we were discussing this the other day, but the half decent ones end up getting cancelled because they don't appeal to the masses, only to more like niche and more hardcore, if you will, horror fans, right? So it's really not worth it, like investing your time knowing that they'll pull the plug at any second or they'll leave you on a cliffhanger that they'll eventually pick up in a comic book 10 years later if you
Shout
look at it.
out to Slasher and Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah. And even then, you're only going to get that comic book resolution basically after an online petition reaches enough signatures. And I'm asking myself, when I see them release things like Derry, or there was rumored to be like a Halloween one, there was rumored to be Hellraiser one.
Jimmy.
I
There's
asked
a
myself,
Friday
like,
the 13th series on the way.
but see, who are they making these films? Who are they making them for? Who are they making these TV?
I don't
Like,
know.
do you know what I mean? Because it's not to rope a new audience. Like, what kid is going to go, hey, you know what? I really like that Pamela Voorhees. Hey, wait, there's 25 films about her son. Can he get a hockey mask, the third sequel in? Like, hey, I'm going to go back and watch them all. Like, no kid that I know is doing that. Nobody. We
No.
might do, but we're getting to a point where we're that jaded with how much they're throwing at us that we just can't be bothered.
And hats off to kids that do actually do that. I wish
Yeah,
I
that's
had
fair.
that.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. Well, we did when I was younger. When I found out all these horror films were out, I was like, I need to watch them. I need to
Yeah.
watch them all now. I
Yeah.
remember you coming up
They
to
were-
me with the VHS copy of Friday the 13th Part 9. You're like, dude, you need to watch this. And I saw the front cover. It had flames on it, a Chrome Jason mask with a weird monster looking through the eye. I was like, I need to see this. And then I went through all of them, and look at that.
Yeah.
He's my favorite slasher icon of all time.
That was our generation's version of Pokemon, wasn't it?
I guess, yeah.
We had to get all we had to get all horror films. Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And but there was something really, I think there was something a lot more exciting, a lot more like igniting for your imagination because there's many films that you've brought to me and shown me, and I never would have even known about or looked at had you not have shown them me or brought them up to me as well. But the idea of and I'm not saying this because I don't, it doesn't necessarily. I'm not one of these people who's like you have to have physical media. All I'm saying is that it was so much fun bringing somebody a VHS or a DVD and you got no idea what it was because it's not on Netflix. There's not reviews. There's not people online tearing it apart from limb to limb. But there's this really cool front cover that actually has something that relates to the content there within, as opposed to Wild Eye, where it's completely fabricated and it's nonsense. There was something really good about that.
Yeah, you get a lot of information from the cover themselves too. You can read who's in it, the songs that are in it, on some of them, not all of them, who's written it, directed it, who's involved with the whole film, what movie company's on it. But nowadays, when you're going through Netflix, it just says an estranged woman was found in the woods. That's it. Made in 2022.
Yeah.
The Woods.
This is very vague. Yeah, it's like the one for Friday 13th. It would be like some teenagers go to a cabin in the woods and die.
In the woods.
It's like the constant remakes, reboots, streaming shows, and all the knockoff versions of upcoming films. You know, the distribution companies like Wild Eye, combined with the unoriginal content, is literally making fools out of the consumer and and us as the people. It's like a big fu to fans, old and new, of the genre and the franchises that are within it. It's too much. Like it's ridiculous.
That's why I don't fully hate the people that don't like my reviews for Wild Eye, because I feel like they've actually been fooled to thinking that's a good product.
Yeah,
when it isn't. When it isn't a good product. Just off that topic, while we're talking about more mainstream films, I wanted to ask you a question because I don't know how I feel about it myself. What do you think difference is with franchises today compared to franchises from when we were growing up? Because I can't get into franchises today, but I could when I were, even 10 years ago, I could get into franchises a lot more back then. I could fully invest in what I was watching, and I'll use Friday the 13th for an example. But with
Yeah.
newer franchises, I can't get into them. And plus, they have a trilogy thing now, and when it can't go past part three, a lot of them, which I don't understand. But I'm answering my own question.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like you're answering your own question because I feel like I can answer it for you. But part of the answer is that franchises nowadays are like, so it's not, here's a horror film. Wow, that was really good. A year or so later, hey, should we try and make a sequel? Yeah, let's test the waters. Okay, what do you want to do with it? It's right. What's your idea for your franchise? It's you need to have the first 5 films or at least a trilogy to start with to take to the table for them to be like. That's why we can't get into it, because you've said it before, and I think I agree with you 100%. But I was going to say, I think something that we should discuss is that you said that basically a lot of the films that we love and things like that were never intended to have a sequel. They were just one-off films, and now they are multiverse franchises with ridiculous amounts of pick and mix. You know what I mean? You can choose whichever you want to do with it. And nowadays, when they make a film, like you just said, they have to have a trilogy limit at least before it even gets off the ground, which it basically, if the first one doesn't do well, you never find out what happens, or you never get that story completed. If it does do well, they'll crank one out every year, and then they'll get to the trilogy, and then they'll say, right, now we're going to do a spin-off. Now we're going to do this character's background story. Then we've got the TV series coming, which is the prequel to this. Do you get what I mean? And that's what I feel like. That's why we can't get into it, because it's almost like they've already preordained everything. And before, it was, we never knew when something was coming. We never knew what it was going to be about. We never knew if we were going to get a sequel or something. Like there'd be a cliffhanger at the end of the film or after the credits or something like that. But we never knew if anything was ever going to come from it. And nowadays you expect that if a film comes out, it's going to have a sequel regardless. Like it's going to, there's no such thing as a standalone film anymore in that respect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And with that, I just want to say that we don't hate horror. We're massive horror fans, and we'll have an episode where we talk about why we love horror. We're just talking about it in this manner because we're very, very passionate about horror, and we want it to thrive. But so we're going to ask a question before we finish it, and that's: can horror be saved?
Yeah, I think it can be, but I think part of what saves it is that it goes back to the basic elements, which are fear and pushing boundaries and exploring the human psyche in different ways. And I think when you get an original idea from a creator, that should be allowed to be explored and expressed as it was intended to be, and how the studio picked it up, rather than, for example, is it Adam Green? You sent me a thing for him the other day.
I love
and
it.
and he was saying about how he doesn't want to release Hatchet 5 because things upstairs need to change. Basically, they need to be under new management. And a film that I know you like, and it's not a film that I wouldn't say I hate it at all. I will always watch it, but it's not a film that I rave about, which is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think it's a great horror film, but I think it's a terrible Halloween film. And I think it could have worked definitely differently. But after hearing how much the studio interfered with him and destroyed his original vision, I kind of feel bad for him, to be honest, because I feel like it's not the film he wanted to make. And I feel like the people that are so out of touch, like Hollywood execs and stuff like that, that are so far removed from reality, they live in a different world to what the people that they're consuming their products do.
Yeah.
And they try to, so they'll say, hey, you've got a really good film. I really like that idea. That's fantastic. Right. Here's $10 million. Go make that film better. Like, make a better version of that vision. Okay, here it is. Why is there no CGI in it? Well, because we did all in camera, practical effects. No, get rid of them. Make them CGI. Okay, fair enough. But that's like 80% of his budget gone then. No, it's got to have that in. Okay. And can you make it a bit more like that guy with the burnt face and the knife fingers? Can we make it a bit more like that? Can we do that? No, you don't want to do that? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we own your film now, so we're going to get a new director to come in and bring it on. And so begins this whole thing of that you hear on all these horror films and all the behind the scenes of quote unquote production hell. So I think horror can be saved if you get people that are more in tune with the actual genre itself, or is a horror fan as opposed to somebody that is like, make it like this film. Does
Yeah,
that make
well,
sense? Like,
yeah, they want somebody that's a fan, but they also need a team of people aware that can shut themselves down if they realize that they're making it from a fan perspective, not from
yeah,
how that character itself would actually be. If you know what I mean. If you know what I
yeah,
mean.
absolutely,
And
yeah,
the Use Halloween is a really good example because I love those films. I've watched a lot of documentaries on them, and even in the first one, they did the studio interfering a lot with the first film as well. And none of those films are Rob Zombie's visions. Apparently, it's the studio, and he said that they were an absolute nightmare to make, and he didn't get any pleasure out of making them. Apparently, because of studio interference, which is very unfortunate, but. I still
yeah.
get some pleasure. I still get pleasure out of those films, and I
Well,
would
yeah,
love to see
absolutely.
his real vision of those films, which you can see because
Mhm.
Michael Myers in those films, that is his vision of
Oh
Michael.
yeah, it's an incredibly brutal version of Michael. I really like it. Like I really do. One thing I will say that I thought was kind of funny is that, you know, like how we had the video nasties in the 80s, and
Mhm.
they banned loads of films. Do you think that, you know, like how we were talking earlier about everything like pandering to certain things and like trying not to offend or whatever? Do you think that we'll end up with a certain type of film in the future, like a set of films or series that people in future will refer to as the Netflix nasties, and it'll be a generation of horror made for the easily offended?
Yeah, I've noticed a pattern with Netflix that they're going down the route of false advertisement. Well, I'll see ads for Netflix films, and on the ad it will say the scariest film you've ever seen. This is the most disturbing film you've ever seen.
Yeah,
And it's nothing against the film, but you'll watch it and it'll be something like Fear Street or the original Psycho. And they're great, but they're not the scariest films I've ever seen or the most disturbing films I've ever seen in a long shot. They're just trying to force people to watch Netflix by trying to get anybody in for
yeah.
anything. Because I know why they're saying it, and it's to get people that are casual fans in to watch it that haven't seen those films before. But yeah, I don't like stuff like that. Don't like
But yeah,
streaming services because it killed mum and pop VHS stores. So I've got a
absolutely, yeah.
vengeance
And
for that.
it's nice, isn't it, when you see them, like you see every so often, like we have where I live currently. Every so often there'll be like a pop up VHS rental store, and it's kind of cool. You can go
Yeah,
rent like a
and,
VHS or a DVD. I
and
think they're
I
pretty
just
cool.
absolutely. I just want people to know I don't mean Blockbuster because that is a is a company that actually destroyed the VHS and DVD rental industry. Because there were one down the road that this regular bloke ran. It was his own
Yeah.
little store. You could walk in. It weren't a big business. It wasn't a franchise business. It was just him. You'd walk in. You could smell booze and cigarettes.
You could, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like a
Dude,
cardboard cut out a pinhead. I'd be like, "That's cool." There'd be a section that you wasn't allowed to go in because you were too young.
because I remember when before Blockbusters in our area were Blockbusters, they were Ritz. And I remember I used to love going at video stores anyway with my dad, but there was one down Darnell area, and I always preferred going to that one, and it was just run by this one guy, and they had so many more horror films than Ritz did before Blockbuster took over. And when Blockbuster took over, it went from 2 or 3 aisles of horror films to just half an aisle, and it
Yeah.
was just the big hits, and that was it. And it was I loved going to the little one in Darnell because it had such a variety, and there were all the video nasties. It was brilliant. I loved it.
Was amazing. It's not. It's again. It's a perfect example of physical media and why it feels better. You're not just watching the film; you're experiencing everything that it's packaged in as well. It's an event. Even when you go to go to a store to rent a film. It's an event. It's great. It's that smell you get when you walk in,
It
all the
is,
films you
yeah.
get to pick out. It's not about just watching the film. You're looking at all these other movies. You're looking at the art on these films, because that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I wanted to go. I'd see like this giant head from like a society, and I'd be like, that's messed up.
Yeah,
And
man.
I want to see that. And then I
Yeah.
turn around and there's like a film called Shrunken Heads. I was like, what the hell is that? And I picked that up and I'm looking at that. Then 20 minutes later, I realize I've been in store for like, well, it seems like 20 minutes. I've been in there for an hour.
Yeah.
My dad's like, what do you want to watch?
I bought Street Trash on VHS when I was probably about 9 or 10 years old from a car boot sale for 50 pence. And the only reason I bought it was because of the front cover, and it was the melted guy coming out of the toilet. And it was legitimately the only reason that I bought it, and I ended up loving it. But
Yeah.
had it have not been for that cover and picking it up and being able to see it and smell it and lick it, you know, I probably wouldn't have found that film for another good 10, 20 years.
And that's
But
the thing now with films like that today. If that was on Netflix, that front cover wouldn't be on it, because it'd be seen
no,
as R-rated. So it's got to be a family-friendly looking cover. So you wouldn't even get that experience just by flicking through and looking at it. So films like that might exist today on streaming, but we won't even realize it. So I just think
no,
physical media is better, but unfortunately, it's dead as of
yeah.
right now.
I feel like there's so much more that we can say, but I reckon what we should do is probably wrap it up for this one, and then we can always revisit the other bits that we've got to say about it. But like Mr. Massacre said there, we do love horror, and this is just some of the bits that kind of irk us to do with. It comes with the territory, I think, of being a horror fan, isn't it? That when things start to change so drastically like they are, there's a lot to be said for it. But I reckon we should hit the road and maybe come back to this topic another day. But yeah, what do you think, my man?
I've got to return some videotapes.
Fantastic. All right. Could you pick me up a Mars bar as well while you're down there, please?
Yeah, I'll get you Mars bar, Snickers, Maltesers. You know what I wanted today? Fucking Lucasade. So bad.
God.
And I
Do you
am,
know
bro.
they've changed the recipe of it now though as well. Kind of sucks. Thank you very much to everybody that's listened to us so far. We are If Podcasts Could Kill.
And please follow us on all platforms.
Yeah, like us and all that kind of stuff, and subscribe and stuff and whatever you kids do these days.
Yep, and join our cult. Silly.
Silly. Silly. Silly.